Do you like Helluva, boss? Do you find joy in picking apart the secrets behind the animation and dialogue? Well, you definitely won't want to miss this video. Enjoy! Alright, we got 4 minutes and 33 seconds to get through, so take it away, Mox.
I love you.
Okay, first thing that I want to say is that the song starts off very slow and it builds up over time. And one very notable thing that you might notice is that, well, the genre is completely different. This song, and one of the reasons why many people think it's amazing, goes through many different elements of music. So it starts off very acoustic and slow, and as I said, it builds up and then slowly changes to more theatrical. And as I'll mention in a minute, the lighting, the environment, and the atmosphere adapt to that too. But moving on to the camera direction for a second, we can see that we're getting a great mix of close-up shots and medium to long range shots. The reason I'm not saying wide shots is because we get wide shots when Ozzie shows up. Right now we're just getting a bit of a mid-range kind of look from behind Millie, making Moxie seem a bit smaller, but then it goes back in close up. In this segment of the song, we don't have a moment where Moxie's completely dwarfed, but we do get that when Ozzie and Fizz show up. So the camera right now is staying very close and just making it seem more personal. As it should, really, because it's a romantic song after all. The simple fact of what genre of music it is, ultimately and instantly makes it more personal, just inherently. So far, so good.
More than the brimstone loves the fire, more than Bielsa loves her bub.
And we see Millie just absolutely enamored by the fact that she's being sang to by someone who she cares about very much, and he's taken the courage to go on stage and sing it to her. All these eyes are on him, yet he only returns his own to one individual, and that's special. I also like how the animation's making her pupils go side to side very quickly. It just gives it that little bit more pizzazz, you know? It's more visually appealing that way, especially when it's such a simple close-up shot, because really you're just looking at a character, and it's those little touches that sprinkle in that little bit more of eye candy that keep us more engaged, so well done for that. Also, quick one, he mentions how he loves her more than Bielsa loves her bub, which obviously alludes to the next episode, which is a great little tie in there. But if you get a bit meta, you'll realize that the episode that comes after this, episode 8, the finale, or the second part of the finale, came out way after this one did. So if you were in the community at that time, you would know that there were constant theories surrounding, Beelzebub since we hadn't seen her yet. And this line from Mox actually had more significance considering the real world situation. It wasn't intended by any means, but it is a good thing to know.
More than a maggot loves gangrenous stubs, you make my spirit sing.
Look at everyone unimpressed because they all came here for lust. That's the whole point. It's the lust ring. You're not expecting something so lovey-dovey. Then again, I'm pretty sure that these two, I forgot the names, but there's a lot of theories about how they might be in a loving relationship. So if that's true, I don't know why they've got a face on right now because you know, you're trying to hide it. You're trying to hide the facts. That's literally Fizz and Ozzie if they were incubus. Stop pretending you don't like love, guys. I've seen the theories. I know you're hiding something. Anyway, the side characters, we're never really going to find out at the end of the day. But I digress.
Yeah, you make me glad I live in hell.
Now that's a wide shot because it zooms out and makes Mox seem small because it's emphasizing the idea of hell. If you look at these two demons on the left and the right, you can see that they're frowning, they're quite disappointed. I think that emphasizes, just by showing them, what hell is like and the judgment towards people who are in genuine love. I just find it interesting that when he says hell, it zooms out to show two frowning faces. In my view, I think it alludes more to the idea of hell and the social norms, and also the reaction to the idea of someone breaking those social norms and straying away from them. We see at this moment that Mox is actually quite happy, he's smiling, he's very attentive, playful with it, because he's speaking from his heart. It's only when he gets actually intervened, not by the faces around him, because he's not paying attention, obviously his eyes are closed, he's just in that moment. But when he's interrupted and then ridiculed, that's when it kind of gets to him, and he just kind of like, wait, what? You're stealing the show, like this was my thing.
Our love is a story sweet to tell.
Now I am a bit conflicted as to what that's alluding to. Is Fizz looking up at him because he's like, I love you, or is he looking up at him like, we've got to ridicule this man? I mean, if you think about it, only one of those scenarios actually happen. They don't just start snuggling right there and then, they like snuggle later on. So I'm guessing it's a look of, let's mess with him, because that's exactly what they do after this. But then again, it could be the former, because afterwards they do start snuggling after he was kicked in the face, quite frankly, but
yeah, you cast a special satanic spell over.
Now I don't know where that fog came from, and I don't really want to know. Obviously it's a visual thing to emphasize the love, but it came right out of his crotch. I can't express it enough, man. Let's be honest.
My heart, love is a journey we
Now, as that fog enters the room, it enshrouds everyone else and just leaves these two in their own little realm together, emphasizing that love and that connection between the two because no one else matters. It's literally pushing everyone else out of the picture because they're only focused on each other right now, which is a great thing, isn't it? You know, now, as you can see on the left, Millie's in absolute awe, and then Moxie on the right. Now, he's absolutely enamored, lost in her eyes, expresses himself straight from the heart, while she does similar, except without the expressing part, more of the just getting lost in the other person's gaze.
Decided to start. Yeah, I hope we'll never ever be.
Now, I'm going to ignore the continuity thing of how the hell did she get up there that fast, but I will warn you, you're about to experience peak animation.
Apart. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I
Revolving camera shots! Now put that one on my tombstone, because that was freaking epic. I'm pretty sure many of you will be aware, but just for anyone who's not, revolving camera shots are some of the hardest things to do in animation. And I can't stress that enough. This stuff is extremely hard to pull off, so congratulations. Especially because this was only season 1. This is where the show was in its infancy, really. This episode and its animation were the best on YouTube at the time. And if you look at the most recent episode, you see how much it's improved. So for me to say that this point in the series was peak and the best at the time is nothing compared to the tens of other revolving camera shots we see in the future. But if you think about this now, back in whenever this came out, I'm not even going to try the date. I do know it was in the 20s, which doesn't seem like a while ago, but then you realize, like, this episode probably came out 3 years ago. Now that's insane, and a lot of improvement has happened in those 3 years, so yeah, it has been an improvement. Has been, oh my goodness, no! But yeah, I lost my train of thought, so frick you, has been.
love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you.
And now a different form of cloud is upon them. One that's intensely different in tone, and you can just sense it. You know something is changing. And the cloud makes a heart shape around Moxie, but it's not a loving heart, is it? We can see this silhouette of a jester and a three-headed rooster show up. And you know that this means business. Something's about to happen. The tone is beginning to change because Mox's instrument, the one thing he was using for this part of the song, is beginning to fade and become quieter. And then we can hear this more theatrical sounding instrumental beginning to rise up. And there's also the idea that while they're mocking him, and Moxie's still trying to hear that song, keep that spark going, but it's not working, and he's slowly devolving and becoming quieter and deeper, having less energy to sing. And that acts as a great transition into the lower sounding tones that come from this deep voice silhouette of who else but Ozzie. Because obviously Moxie's quite high, Richard Horvitz is quite high, so it slowly has to de-escalate and then transitions into the other characters singing because their voices are inherently lower than Moxie's, so he'd have to lose that energy and get down for it to be smooth enough, which is a great addition. They're just absolutely taking the piss out of him. And they're just absolutely taking the piss out of him. And honestly, for a good reason. Moxie, this is not the place to sing your love ballads. It's an honest fact that, unfortunately, you're in the wrong place. And you bet they're gonna make him aware of that. But you do feel bad for him, though. Look at his face. He's got that sad expression. He didn't deserve this. He only wanted to express his love and speak from the heart. And then he just, unfortunately, did it at the wrong place. But then again, I said it myself. You did it at the wrong place. And, obviously, Moxie's unfortunately in the wrong. And there's some justification for what's about to happen. Though it's not all virtuous, obviously it's hell, but aside the fact you understand what I mean. I love you. I love you. See, that was so genuine. There's no way. Oh, I love you. Yeah, just snuggle. Like, yeah, totally. Taking the piss right now. Yeah. Also, oh my goodness, the lighting in this scene. Please help.
You singing love songs in my lustful lounge.
Whoa, Fizz! Where did Fizz go, man? Besides that unfortunate revelation that he just leaped from Ozzie's shoulder, we need to mention the camera direction in this moment. Moxie's closer to the frame, yes, but who ultimately is the largest in this scene? It's Ozzie. He's behind him, he's scary, he's sinister, and then obviously it's revealed, and that's the great thing, it reveals that even though his silhouette looks monstrous, he just wants to have a little bit of fun, you know, with a little goofy man. But that is a great tool that many pieces of media use. In the visuals, they make something seem so sinister and big and monstrous, and then they reveal it to show nothing more than what's commonly a gentle giant. I do think it's really interesting that they used it in this scene particularly. And honestly, it was only a few seconds, but it did the job, didn't it?
Ozzie's ain't the place for sentimental sounds.
As I said, that's a great point. They are trying to make Moxie aware that this is the wrong place, but the execution of it just seems very derogatory. Fizz and Ozzie have the right argument, but they don't really have full justifiability for their actions in this moment and in the next 2 or 3 minutes, because there 100% is other ways to go about this. But for the people that they are and for the theatrics of the show, they want to make it fun and they're prioritizing entertainment over the level-headed mind. Now, you could say that that, yeah, deep down they have a good motive, but then again, that's not what they did. Thinking about the situation as a whole, you'll realize that the only thing you can really judge on is the actions, the way that they executed it. The underlying tones don't really matter because they weren't executed in that moment. Maybe through that ridiculing, yes, but still, it's not the best way to go about it. Therefore, there's a great conversation to be had about how to handle this differently and better.
What you expect from a proprietor like us?
Your demon host, Asmodeus, the embodiment of lust.
And then you get that true reveal of the big Oz himself, and funnily enough, it says Ozzie's right behind his head. It's like a name tag above his head. Also, the way that Fizz hypes him up, saying he's the demon host, Asmodeus, the embodiment of lust. Honestly, Fizz is just the master of good vibes and having fun and hyping things up. He's very energetic as a person, so perfect individual to introduce you at any show. I'm definitely picking him, and I'll be ringing his agent whenever I have something going on.
Give me a thrust. You show me some love.
Notice the absolute change of tone and then the look on Moxie's face, just like, wait, what? Just a bit sweaty, a little bit, maybe a little bit sweaty. I mean, ultimately, it is an awkward moment because, hey, what are you talking about, man? Oh, no. You just said lust? What do you mean lust? But then this change of tone to the song that was presented to have many villainous undertones completely switches on us. This is more playful than it is devilish.
From the groin to the bust, in desire we trust.
I like the way the animation's done because it follows the instrumental. When there's that sporadic beat from the composition, the movement from the characters is equally as sporadic. And then in between those musical jerks, it slows down. It's a slow movement and then a boom, and then a slow movement and then a boom. It keeps the same formula and it's in time with the music. Also, quick note, I saw that little nose rub between you two. You can't convince me of nothing. This scene is really interesting in hindsight, knowing that they're in a very healthy and loving relationship, since now coming back to it, you realize how sensual each and every action was between the two. And honestly, now everything's just obvious.
In the house of Asmodeus.
Trumpet.
When I say playful, I mean playful. Moxie's there like, whoa, what's going on? And he is massive, by the way. Jeez, Ozzie. And moreover, he's lay there belly first on this velvety stage, as he calls it, leaning his head on his fists and kicking his feet in the air, while his future husband in the background is just making weird trumpet noises. Trumpet, ha! You honestly can't take this song seriously till it takes itself seriously, which is a great tone change that I'll mention in a minute.
If you came here to sing your serenade, perform your feelings on the velvety stage. Well, we got a saying that's popular in these parts.
Notice how they really get in his face and just play with him, because they're seemingly trying to scare him off in an odd sense, but behind it all, like I said, they have good intentions, so they're just messing with him. They don't really want him to leave until he starts showing too much love, and then it's like, hey, this is bad for business. We can't have two people openly showing love center stage in the middle of this giant emporium for lust and lust only. It's bad for business. Everyone's just gonna leave, especially the fact that you kicked my man in the face. I'm looking at you, Mills.
Only little bitches strum the strings of their heart.
Do I need to point out the hypocrisy in that statement? Fizzarolli. Come on, man. Denial. Definition of denial. It's a picture of Fizz. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, only little bitches do that. Totally couldn't be me. Couldn't be me.
You know what? He can just stay over there. Yeah, he can go to Ozzie because obviously they're not in love, so they would never find an attraction to each other. So yeah, you can stay with Ozzie. We don't have to worry about anything, right? Right?
You wanna hang around this lustful town?
The animation on Fizz as he languidly slithers through those cracks onto Ozzie, it really gives that effect and emphasizes the fact that, hey guys, you know Fizz, he's so elastic. He's just a maneuverable and flexible character, and we're going to show off the fact that we can do absolutely anything with him because he's got these robotic enhancements. And that is one thing I really like about Fizz, is the variety of movement that he has because of the character that he is. Knowing how hard animation is to do, having a character like Fizz is both a blessing and a curse, because one, you don't have to be accurate, since he's so flexible. Things that may look weird on a regular character will look fine on Fizz. You know, oh, I did the angle a bit off. It's alright because it's Fizz. He's so flexible that when Viv goes, I want you to have him spinning round and doing backflips and flipping, you've got to do that. And then that's a lot more effort. So, blessing and a curse.
Ditch the lovey-dovey before we knock you around.
And then Ozzie makes this direct threat that is meant to be a joke, but to very traumatized Mox over here, this is very real. He's like, yeah, I'll leave, and he tries to leave, and then Fizz brings him back. He's like, I just want to leave. No, Fizz brings him back. And then he tries to leave again, and then Ozzie's like, oh no, you don't. He can't escape this situation, and that's what makes him have a lot of anxiety, and now everything that they say will be held against them, because he's taking it so serious. He's like, I don't want him to hurt me. So the things that they're joking about, that to anyone else, to the audience, they're like, oh yeah, they're only kidding, that's just Ozzie and Fizz. So the guy in the hot seat, everything seems so much more more emphasized and so much more dangerous. So poor Moxie, I feel bad for him, man. But then again,
Here we sing about wanted desire.
Depravity, savagery, loins hotter than fire.
So give me a
they're really trying to lean towards that lustful aspect and instill it in his mind that, hey, this is the wrong location for you, Mox. You better get out of here, but if you try and escape, we're going to bring you back and ridicule you some more until it's fully in your mind and you realize, hey, lust is just cool. I need more money, apparently.
Well, that's one extra customer.
show me some love.
He's constantly trying to get away. It's so unfair because obviously, like I've said this entire freaking time, they're not taking this seriously. You don't realize, dude, Moxie's traumatized.
From the groin to the bust, little imp, you just must in the house of Asmodeus.
I do have to comment on Ozzie's design, though. Every single scene with it in and the way that the camera's angled to make him seem so much bigger than he actually is, it's a perfect combination because his design is so well done, and then obviously the cameras complement that, and it just makes him seem like this big, regal being, and then you realize, hey, he's just quite humble, actually. He's just a guy that's trying to cover up the fact that he's in a loving relationship, and he just makes dildos. Like, we can't respect the hustle. I mean, from what we know, this man created his own species, so that's props to him, I guess. I do really enjoy the fact that he's just absolutely massive. Now, allow me to speedrun this bit to get to the next part where I can speak about it more, because right now we're just kind of going over the same stuff, and I don't want that.
Come on, sing us a song. Make sure the subject is getting it on.
One note, though, Fizz, the poor guy. He's trying his best, lifting him up like,
I'll help you, Oz. I got this. Just let me.
we do appreciate his attributes to the act and the art of entertainment. You're the only thing keeping this running, Fizz. Keep going, bro.
Make it rough and tactically loud.
Be sure to rhyme thong and schlong.
Go ahead, your mic's on.
Now they're trying to force him a little bit into saying those vulgar things. And obviously it's not for him, and he could just say that and see how it goes down. They would kick him out probably, but it's better than just sitting there and then trying. Just say, hey, I'm not into doing that. And then it's like, oh, okay, then we're getting nothing out of you. Oh, Fizz, kick him out. If he just said that then, you wouldn't have to wait another 2 minutes and 17 seconds for Oz to just go, get out! Get the frick out! Look at the way he looks up to him for approval. He's like, am I doing well? And Ozzie's like, you're doing well. There's just so many little bits in it. Little, tiny little details that just allude to the fact that maybe there's something more than meets the eye going on. Maybe there's something under the surface. I do really enjoy their relationship because it's a breath of fresh air from all the toxicity. We have Moxie and Millie, and I think that's the closest thing that we have to a healthy relationship. But a lot of the time, they can come across as extra lovey-dovey, whereas these two, because they're keeping it quiet, it's more subtle and things that you have to be very observant to pick up on. It's not just right in your face all the time, which it's not my problem with Millie and Moxie. I'm just explaining why I enjoy fizzmodeus or fizzarolli, and I'm using them as a comparison because it's the only comparison we have, you know? I'd use several if we had several, but we don't have several. But yeah, Eminem's great, and it's a great thing that they can express themselves in public and not be ashamed of it. Whereas Fizz and Oz do have that where they don't want to do it in public, but then again, some people, maybe keeping it quiet is more comfortable. It just depends on the people around you. Like if you have a friend who's not really into relationships and they find PDA a bit too much, if you're truly their friend and they're truly yours, you just adapt to that and just be like, yeah, just not much around them because they don't enjoy it. It's just having that respect, you know? If you respect someone and they respect you and they're like, hey, I just don't really like seeing that too much, it's not something that I'm very interested in, and it's your choice to make that decision. They're not forcing you like, can you stop being attentive in public? I don't like it when I'm with you and you guys are just doing that. It's more like, hey, I'm just not really comfortable with that. And then the usual reaction from someone who has a lot of respect for that person would usually be, well, I can change to help that if I can. I can do what I can to help because I know that you would do the same for me, kind of thing. So there is that argument that I do stand by. Don't change yourself for anyone, but if you respect someone and you know they would do the same thing for you, if they've got a concern, then it's probably best to adapt to it if you can, considering you care about that person almost as much as you care about the partner that you're doing the PDA with, you know? If they're not comfortable with it, you just adapt to it and just do it somewhere else. You know what, Cryptid? You've always got those neutral opinions. Yeah. Anyway, if you disagree with me, just let me know in the comments. Very respectful. I'll be respectful to you. Just let me know if you disagree with any of my opinions or you've noticed something in the actual video, the analysis that I've not noticed. Thank you very much.
I want to.
Yeah, what do you want? Butt stuff, piss play, bondage?
Make gentle love to you.
They're trying to push this onto him for entertainment purposes because really they are quite upset about it because Mox has come into this atmosphere and he's unknowingly attempted to change it to express himself, which is not a bad thing because it was accidental. You've got to make him aware of it and not take the absolute mick out of him, guys. Though I do understand the anger from both sides here because obviously Mox is getting treated like crap seemingly, and then Fizz and Ozzie want to keep the energy and keep their customers coming because without it there's no business. You need to keep that lustful energy because that's what everyone came for. So it's a mixed bag really. Both have done wrong and both have done right. In the famed words of Charlie and Emily, the rules are shades of grey when you, well, no, ignore that last bit, when the rules are shades of grey.
With a lipstick F, you're really killing the vibe. Get a load of this dweeb and his unsatisfied pride.
Now they're aware that they can't push those lustful tendencies out of him, they're attempting to use deprecating humour to push him down for entertainment purposes, which is once again something that's not really favourable, just the same as if someone committed a crime and they did it because they needed food and they didn't have money. You understand the motive behind the crime, but it's still a crime at the end of the day. You have to convict them or fine them or whatever. Punishments still come based off your actions. It doesn't necessarily matter how virtuous the motive was, you've still said and done those things. Sometimes when you're resolving with people, it's like, hey, I didn't mean to do it like that. I said it like this, but I shouldn't have used that tone. I meant it this way. And you make up and it's like, it's okay, I forgive you. They're still going to remember what you said. You still said something at the end of the day that sounded off. Even though they might have it verified that it wasn't meant to sound off, it still sounded off in that moment and brought them some upset. Also, one thing, why is this such a great thumbnail image? Like, I feel like this could be a thumbnail. I'm not going to have it as the thumbnail, but it could have been a thumbnail.
Hey now, I've watched those two pork many times.
What? Blitz?
Alright, this guy's joining in. Main character, Blitzo Buxer. Oh man, can't deal with him. I wish he was not the hell of a boss. Just kidding, I actually love Blitz. He's like the best character ever.
And honestly, they make Missionary look relatively exciting.
Is that Blitzo? So you're showing your face? Hey everybody! This guy's a total disgrace.
So Blitz jumps in. I don't understand why. Maybe to fuel his ego or something. I guess he just wants to be a part of that situation, kind of drag himself into it and get in that spotlight. Maybe it was an act of attempting to get Fizz to notice him because he sees him there. He's like, Fizz is here. I might as well just say something, maybe a joke to make someone laugh and then try and get in on the hate because they were ridiculing Moxie. So he's thinking, if I also ridicule Moxie, maybe Fizz will notice and then we can get to talking, maybe something like that. But no, it does have the wrong effect. Obviously, like, he hates you, Blitz, for the action that he did on that day. He missed the motive behind the action because of the fact that he was in shambles and he thought Blitz was running away from him on that day. And it's the same thing. He still ran away on that day and it came across as Blitz running away from Fizz and leaving him there on his own with no one to help him, though really he was trying to get help. It doesn't ignore the fact that he's gone probably 15 years thinking this. And that there is a situation where both the act and the motive were virtuous, but because of the angle it was looked at from, the execution of that particular angle from Fizz's perspective, it's still something to apologize for because, you know, he came across that way.
Some nerve you got to comment on a relationship. Last I checked, your love life is a pile of shit.
Don't ask me how he knows this. I mean, why would you ask me anyway? I'm not on the team. Actually, I can answer that for you because Veronica shows up in about 2 seconds. So yeah, that's how he knows. Oh, God damn, Cryptid. Man, sorry people, I was just too invested in the analysis, you know, I forgot my brain. But look at how sinister Fizz looks. It doesn't even look like Fizz, does it, at that angle? I do feel bad for both of them in this moment, since Fizz is doing it from a place of hatred because of what's happened to him, and he's kind of flexing those robotic parts by springing towards him like, hey, this is what you made me. I'm only this because of you, mate. And then obviously Blitz is getting that abuse when he doesn't understand why he's getting it.
Oh, Blitzo? I used to date.
Oh, Veronica.
Now, we're about to get some insight on Blitz and Veronica's relationship that we don't really know about as of far. So keep your ears peeled, because there's some really great lyrics here that just allude to the fact that the Blitz we see today is not too unfamiliar from the Blitz that Veronica saw when they were together.
You're here.
A stroke on my plate.
Now, she's explaining that she would give Blitz attention, both physical and emotional, and the way in which she's animated and the tone that she uses emphasizes the fact that it was very sensual and loving from her side of things. The way she's explaining this, her tone of voice is quite soft, and the way she slowly spreads across that table very delicately is a visual present-day way of showing how much effort she put into her touch, her words, and Blitz as a whole. And for him to sit there and just shrug it off is quite disrespectful, sure, but then again, again, we don't have the full story of what's happened. Yes, Blitz admitted that he was in the wrong during Apology Tour, but we still can't take it at face value because we don't really know his side of the story. He's just accepting what Veronica says about him. He's never said, well, you did this and you did that. He never tried to argue or fight against it. Maybe that's because in Apology Tour, he was in the wrong mood. If he was in his regular mood, he might argue against it and say, well, you did this to me, but because he was on that tour of, the Apology Tour, he was so driven to have that quick apology and then run to Stolas and say, hey, I apologize to everyone but you, that he just completely disregarded anything against her. It doesn't matter what they've done, I just want to check it off the list, just boop, and then move on. So we've still not received his side of it. Therefore, I can't say Veronica is completely virtuous because she's a demon, and no one in this world or the real world is fully virtuous anyway, so there's no way that I could fully side with her. There must have been something that she's done that kind of drove him to do that. It can't have just been her getting too close. Maybe something like Stolas, where Stolas would talk down to him, unaware of the fact that it had such an effect on Blitz. Maybe Veronica did something similar, but that's all theories. I can only theorize. In summary, I can't fully side with her because I don't know the full story from his perspective as well as hers.
Yeah, but when it was my turn, he did no reciprocating.
Now that is an important point and one we can believe. Because of the person that Blitz is and we know that he pushes people away, and we see it in that dream trip sequence in episode 6, Veronica's coming towards him and he's backing up, he's going away, and that is kind of a visual, maybe metaphorical representation of what may have actually happened. Veronica was physically, emotionally, and figuratively getting close to Blitz. And yeah, 100%, Blitz would take that physical affection from Veronica, but not take it too seriously. So when it became more serious and she begun to show that affection more often, not in a sexual nature, more in a romantic nature, that's when all the alarms went off in his head. Same thing with Stolas, when Stolas said, you can just come around and cuddle. It's the same situation. He's so conditioned to being used and using others, where the only affection he's receiving is for personal gain and that only, that when someone attempts to step outside of that and into his boundary area, it's an absolute crisis, as it would be if someone stepped into your boundary, but because of Blitz's boundaries being so strict, it's just instant as soon as anything happens, and he absolutely just freaks the hell out and can't deal with it. So like I've said previously, I do understand the character, I understand this person, I understand Blitz, I understand why this happens. At the end of the day, he's ultimately hurt people, which is what really matters because it's the only thing that you can change. You can make that better, you have the ability to become a better person, you're not dead, the other person's not dead, you can still pay respects and apologize.
A selfish imp in the sheets, and just as bad in the streets, a reckless, heartbreaking freak.
Notice the amount of passion coming from Veronica when she says those lines. She kicks him with meaning and throws him to the ground. And that's what leads me to think maybe she could have lashed out at some points, and that's why Blitz is so scared in this moment. Maybe it's a familiar thing. There is a chance that the reason Blitz is so strong and why he owns this business is because he needs to feel like he's above everyone else. The way that I view this scene right now, with Veronica being so angry and lashing out, and Blitz having all that fear in his eyes, she very well could have been abusive, which is a very bold accusation to make, and not something that I believe in any way, but I'm just not gonna completely ignore it and just throw it off the table, out the window, or whatever. That is a very valid point, and if it did show up, I would understand why. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But taking it in a different direction, she must just be really passionate about this. This is something that's hurt her and haunted her for so long because the one guy that she opened up to slapped her in the face and ran off. But then that also makes me think, why did he run off? Why did he feel the need to do it so secretly? With Stolas, he argued with him, he shouted back and forth, he's like, I don't know, you dick, nothing. But with Veronica, he did it in a secretive manner. And like I said, all speculation, just something to know. But to compare Blitz's actions on the streets to the ones in a relationship is quite bold. To make that accusation that they are similar and alike really says a lot about the character that Blitz is. And unfortunately, it's upsetting for both parties because obviously Blitz has had a rough life. Veronica's unaware of this because Blitz didn't open up, therefore she was heartbroken when he left. From the information that we're given, it seems as if both sides took a hit. And I do feel for both of them, even if one of them has made some bad decisions and the other is trapped in a toxic loop. There's still a lot of understanding between that.
Who's that at your table? Is your data demon Prince? Stolas, is that you?
Are you sleeping with an imp?
The Stolas accusations. Ding ding.
My dark lord, how the mighty do fall. He used to have a smoke good wife, a kid, you had it all.
I think Ozzie does bring up a really good point. Stolas did, being the problematic person that he is, leave his wife and kid. He definitely left his wife, but it's more controversial to say that he left his daughter. But if you think about it, he's so problematic and he's trapped up in his own head and his own emotions that sometimes he can forget and screw up. And I feel really bad for Octavia. I think there should be, when she gets a full episode or whatever, I'll do a great analysis on that. It's very much another situation where I understand both sides, though I can also notice who's in the wrong, which is usually both, because both have done things to each other, and formulate a step on how to make that better.
I hope you didn't give it up so you and him could get it up.
Notice how they revolve away to show Blitz. As if saying, if you want Blitz in front of you, you've got to let them move on. Behind him, behind Blitz is your family, because they've just walked off behind him. Blitz is blocking the road, really, because if Blitz wasn't there, Octavia would be. But Octavia's being obscured by the fact that Blitz is in his life, and that's all he really cares about at that moment.
You sold your life for a thrust. Now that's the spirit of love.
Notice that crescendo, and then obviously them two trying to hide their own faces because they're embarrassed. But needless to say, the lighting, the musical composition, the animation, the camera, you know what, everything, I say this all the time, everything's amazing. Absolutely colossal congratulations to the team, because this is like the best episode. Like I said, it was the best for its time.
Grab your groin or a bust. You better get your hair mussed. Pretend you don't see that crust. Hop to your
Notice how Ozzie finishes his line on that beat again? It's just constantly amping up every single time. And each line finishes powerfully on that beat.
in the house of
Boom! Destroyed! And Millie jumps in, and as soon as she does that, the lighting changes back to that loving pinkish light that was present before. And there is 39 seconds left, but it's just the Millie and Moxie scene, and it's just really sweet. But I am running out of time because I need to record a second channel video. But yeah, no shade to those two, I love them to death. And if you're looking for some more Helluva Boss analysis sweetness, and you love my boy Fizzy, you might just find that my deep dive on 2 minutes notice may spark your interest. Check that out on the screen now. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Stay positive. Gabba!